The Winter Olympics are underway, and 32 general managers and head coaches now can hold their breath, hoping their players don't get hurt. Welcome to NHL Wraparound Quick Takes. Vic and Neil with you. And on Thursday, nearly identical type wins for the U.S. and Canada. The Americans beating Latvia 5-1. The Canadians beating Czechia 5-0. And both of the underdogs playing tight through the first period, and then the powerhouses drawing off.
Oh, absolutely. And what happened was in the beginning of the game, they gave it all they had, and the Canadian or American teams were feeling them out. And then suddenly they got their legs under them, the Canadians or the Americans or both, and took over. And it was pretty well one-sided from then on in both games.
From the U.S. side, it was actually 1-1 after the first period, and the Americans had 2 goals waved off and hit 2 posts, and Brock Nelson was victimized both times there, but did manage to get 2 goals. And the first goal, Brady Tkachuk from Matthew Tkachuk, and Father Keith played in 4 Olympics.
Yeah, they played well together. That was a nice goal by Brady Tkachuk to start the Americans on the scoreboard.
The Americans will wrap up their pool play over the weekend with games against Denmark and Germany. And for the Canadians, Macklin Celebrini scores the first goal with 6 seconds left in the first period. And there was also a sequence where Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and Connor McDavid all in on the same goal. Dominant performance by then. But what about Jordan Binnington? Because so many people had their shorts in a bunch about whether or not he should even be selected because he was having a rough year with the St. Louis Blues. But John Cooper had him for the Four Nations tournament last year. And of course, he won Game 7 in Boston, the Cup final in 2019. He just throws a shutout in Game 1.
Well, he does, but it is against Czechia, so it's not like he threw it against the Americans or against an NHL team. Binnington will, as any goalie will. I mean, Hellebuck for the Americans, Ottinger when he gets his chance, and any of these goalies will be, people will be critical of them if they let goals in, which they will. And with Binnington, he's probably hasn't completely erased the criticism and the naysayers for him getting on the team. But you know what? If you're John Cooper and you're got a guy that won the Four Nations for you just a year ago in international play, how do you snub him? You can't. You got to put him on the team.
The Canadians will wrap up pool play with games on Friday against Switzerland and on Sunday against France. One thing about the Swiss, they've got several NHL players, and they don't historically score a lot, but they're pretty stiff defensively, although they're going to need an absolute yeoman's effort to be able to stay in a game with the Canadians.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to have to, I don't know what they're going to have to do to beat the team that we saw today, but the Swiss do have a lot of good players now. It's growing all the time, and they can't be taken lightly, of course, by the Canadians either, or they could find themselves in a hole, but that's highly doubtful.
One other game that I want to note, and this one happened on Wednesday, with Slovakia defeating Finland 4-1, scoring 3 goals in the third period. Juraj Slafkovský had a pair of goals. But the thing that shocks me here is I watched Team Finland, and when the Dallas Stars aren't playing well, that's who they reminded me of yesterday. And of course, there are 4 Finns from Dallas on that club. And overall, Finland had 24 NHL players. Slovakia had 7.
I know. It was unbelievable that Finland would lose that game. You talk about Mikko Rantanen is on that team. Just that name alone, and you start thinking, oh, boy, these guys are going to dominate. And they didn't play well at all, I didn't think. And losing that first game, that's a big blow to start the Olympics that way.
And they're going to have a pretty stiff opponent on Friday when they face Sweden in the early game. I want to move over to the women's side for a second. The U.S. dominating through the 4 games of pool play. I believe they outscored their opposition 20-1. Dominant 5-0 victory over Canada. But I think we'd be hard-pressed to say that those 2 clubs will meet once again in the final coming up later next week. And USA will face Italy. Canada will face Germany in the next round. But the bigger picture here, Neil, is in 6 out of the 7 previous Winter Olympics in which women's hockey was featured, these two teams played in the final for the gold medal. And while it's great if you're in North America, for worldwide growth, not so much.
No, and the sport isn't growing worldwide. Let's face it. Men's it did and is continuing to do, but in the women's it's not doing it. Or else we would have more competitive Olympics than we're having over this long period of time. It's still just Canada and the U.S. The U.S. is dominant in this sport now, and you're right. I don't know how they're going to grow it if, in fact, the only place you can get good female hockey players is in either the U.S. or Canada. They're going to be the two countries playing each other forever.
It's not a great thing when one of the true highlights of women's hockey in the Olympics is who's playing for the bronze.
Yeah. No, that's never a good thing. You want to know. It's always, as you said, Vic, it's always Canada versus U.S. year after year, the Olympics after Olympics. And all we do is hope whichever side of the fence we're on that one, that we get that team to win. And as I said, so far in the recent past, it's been the U.S. every time.
Part of what we are seeing that is a little bit different in these Olympics is all players are required to wear neck guards. And of course, it's an optional thing in the National Hockey League, but according to the IIHF, everybody has to wear them. And there have been several players like Zach Werenski and Jack Eichel that have tried it for the first time, and they say it's not too bad. And there are others that, well, maybe, I have to wear it now, but I'm going to take it off. I think Brady Tkachuk is going to be one of those players that removes it after. But neck guards are going to be grandfathered in, effective with the 26-27 NHL season as part of the new CBA. This is only for the good of the game because we certainly don't want to see incidents like we saw happen with Adam Johnson over in the United Kingdom back in 2023.
Well, absolutely. And if it's only 1 out of 1,000 that it could happen to, that's too many. The skates are razor sharp. Feet do go up in the air at times. Heads do come down at times, and it's just too darn dangerous. There's no other sport where you have basically a knife on your feet and you're going at 20 miles an hour. The more protection they can put on the players without inhibiting their skills, the better.
You see a lot of players coming back into league play wearing them, or do you think maybe once we get past the season, we'll revisit it?
I think some players will realize that it's not that uncomfortable in the Olympics and probably wear it. I don't think there'll be a lot. I think there'll be a few. Remember TJ Oshie did it not too long ago, and he was the first guy to come back and say, "Oh, I'm going to wear it." And then we found out, of course, he had a company that was making them. So he had a little bit of an interest in that.
Yes, he did. Well, anybody that has played one NHL game prior to the start of the 26-27 season will have the option as to whether or not to wear it or continue to wear it, as some players have. And as we said, players coming into the league effective next season will have to wear it. So for the weekend, look forward to more Olympic hockey, but I enjoyed doing this quickly.
Yeah, this is fun. The Olympic hockey is great. I suggest to everybody listening, make sure you try to get in front of the TV or record it and see it later. It's all good hockey.
Our website is NHLWraparound.com, and Neil and I will be back on Monday with another quick take on the conclusion of the pool play, and then we'll start to get into the elimination phase. But also, we'll have a wraparound towards the end of next week, and why don't you share with everybody who our guests are going to be?
This is going to be fun. It's going to be two brothers who have played in the NHL. No, not Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, but it's going to be James Van Riemsdyk and Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Trevor, of course, playing defense for the Washington Capitals this season. James doing a really good job, I think, on the wing for Detroit. That's going to be fun to have them both on at the same time.
I think it's going to be especially cool because James is trying to get the Red Wings into the playoffs for the first time after a 9-year drought. And for Trevor, who has won a Stanley Cup prior with Chicago and now is on a team on the outside looking in that was expected to do far better than what they're showing thus far. So I'm really looking forward to what that discussion is going to be about.
And both the brothers are going to be free agents, unrestricted free agents at the end of the season.
Be interested to see if they try to link forces.
Yeah. Like the Hughes brothers keep talking about.
Enjoy the hockey this weekend, folks. We'll speak to you again on Monday.